to spend this Thursday evening together. I hope that the month of October is turning out well. And I was actually pleased when Paul sent out a WhatsApp message that October is the Bone Health Awareness Month. So it works in quite well with the training of today, because we'll be touching on some of that. So I hope that you have had a profitable 2 weeks so far into October, and that today's sessions are going to help you to move towards the goals that you have set for yourself in the month of October. So as your invite might have shown, today's session is about sports nutrition. And as Paul said, yes, we are here in Africa. We are great supporters of different kinds of sports. And also, I would like to think that as the issues relating to lockdowns and the pandemic are easing off a little bit, it's a good thing for us to spend some time reconsidering some of the habits that we have developed in the course of the lockdown situations, and try to see if we can incorporate more activity and even sports in our lives. Of course, our children will also be now going actively into school, and they especially should be encouraged and would benefit from more activity. I'm sure we have children who are very interested in sports, and they too would benefit from our sports nutrition session. So, let me start by saying some of the consequences or results that come from poor nutrition in terms of sports. The first thing, of course, would be poor performance, because with sports people, their intention is to reach their goals and to please their fans and perform as they expected. So good nutrition and supplementation would be important in them reaching those goals. So what they want to avoid at all costs is poor performance, because of course, if you're a professional sports person, then that means that you are going to take a hit in your pocket or also in your reputation. So the other thing that results from inadequate nutrition would be bone and muscle loss. And we might think that our bones are just very hard, strong things that are inert and don't change. But the truth of the matter is that our bones are living tissues, and they grow and they change, they break down and they are built up again. In fact, we've got specialized cells in our bones whose job is to break down the old bone cells so that new cells, new bone material can be laid down. Of course, the body wants to maintain good quality bones and strong muscles. And of course, we know that our muscles also get built up or lost. Because, for example, if you've ever been injured and had to have your leg or your arm in a plaster cast, you notice that when the plaster is taken off, the plaster cast is taken off, the limb will have grown smaller because the muscle will have become smaller as a result of not being used. So our muscles grow and take their shape from the work that they have to do, which means that it is important for us to do things which help our muscles to build. And this is whether we are sports people or just fans or ordinary people. So good nutrition and doing weight-bearing exercises is important for maintaining our bones and our muscles, because as the saying goes, what we don't use, we lose, which means that if we want to maintain good bone and strong muscles, we need to actually make good use of them. And for sports people especially, this means that whether it is time for competition or it is past competition, they need to be continuously in practice so that they maintain their edge at all times. So the other thing that results from inadequate nutrition is immune dysfunction. We have spoken on many occasions. Maybe those who are new may not have heard us speak about this, but for those of us who have been getting together on this Thursday training, we speak often about our immune system, and it's a system that is supposed to defend us, but sometimes it can become stressed and does not act properly. So one of the things that happens as a result of inadequate nutrition is that our immune system may start dysfunctioning, especially because Sports and competitive sports in particular tend to put a stress on the body, and that includes the immune system. So when the immune system is stressed, it reacts in two ways. Either it is going to become weak so that it is not able to fight against infection, or it might become misdirected so that it attacks the body, what we normally speak of as autoimmune conditions, where our immune system, instead of protecting us from foreign organisms, starts attacking our own bodies. And that is the result of immune dysfunction. So as sports people, or people who have sports people within our clientele or within our circle, we need to be aware that we have to protect the immune system to make sure that it is not stressed and is able to deal with the practice, competition, and recovery of the sports person's life. Then the last effect I wanted to mention is that our body responds to the demands of our lifestyle. So we build bone and muscle strongly if we use them. If we don't use them, then what happens is that they get replaced by bigger fat tissues. And maybe you might have noticed that sports people, maybe when you are younger and you knew some people who are very active in the sports arena, and then they retire from sports and they take a less active lifestyle, you notice that they start laying down fat. That is because the demands of the body now are not for bigger, stronger muscles. And so the body, instead of maintaining the muscle, what it does is that it lays down fat, and you see that the sports person starts to change body shape. So those 4 points I wanted to use as an introduction as to how our nutrition plays an important role in ensuring that these problematic situations do not arise in our bodies, and especially for those of us who are actively in sports. So in Neolife, sports nutrition targets especially sports people, but also active people. And as I've said, active people include we ourselves, because we've always said that our health requires that we are active and we incorporate activity in our lives, but also those of our children and our sports people, and children also who are interested in becoming sports people. So for our own information, it's good to know that a sports person's life comprises of a cycle of performance. The cycle has 3 stages. So the first stage is a training phase, which is when the sports person is preparing themselves for the competition. So this is to make sure that their bodies and their minds are ready for competition. So the needs in this training cycle is, number 1, building up strength. So they need the physical strength to be able to compete. Number 2, they need endurance. That means they need to sustain physical activity, that they do not get exhausted and fall out of activity before they have finished their performance. So during the training cycle, they have practice that imitates what they've been doing during the actual competition. And that means they are building up endurance so that when they come to the actual competition, they'll be able to sustain the activity that they are involved in, whether it is playing soccer, whether it is athletics, and so on. Then the third thing that is required in a training cycle is stamina. And that is you need mental, physical, and resilience, bodily resilience. So the stamina is comprised of having physical as well as mental resilience that you can keep on. So the sports person does not only rely on his physical body, his mind also needs to be well prepared for competing. Because remember, in sports, it's not me against myself. It's usually me against an opponent. And that means my mind needs to be in a state of awareness that I need to do better than the other person, which requires that I'm mentally well prepared and have stamina to go through. Because, for example, if you are in athletics, you may find that you didn't start very well. but that does not mean that you go off the race. You try to catch up. That really depends on the mental stamina that keeps you going, even though you notice that you're maybe at a disadvantage. We have seen, for those who are soccer fans, I'm not so much of a soccer fan, but sometimes you may find that the team is not doing well initially, but they don't give up. They keep on, and sometimes they turn things around, and the team which had started well might not be the one that wins. But this requires that thing that we refer to as stamina and resilience. And then, of course, the training phase also requires the minimization of injuries. Because, of course, as a person who is going to compete, you do not want to have injuries interfering with your training or preventing you from competing. So the training phase requires that injuries are kept at a minimum, but also that the body is able to withstand minor injuries and recover quickly. So in this phase, the training phase, the Neolife products that we recommend will be the sports protein shake, which is, as it says, a protein. And this ensures that the body has what it needs to build muscle and bone. We also recommend amylose, which is a preparation of amino acids. These also participate in the building of muscle and the maintaining of the body musculature. We also recommend Daily Vitality Pack, which is comprised of several vitamins and minerals, as well as threonine. And lastly, we also recommend vitamin A plus D, especially if you are a dark-skinned person and you are not getting exposure into adequate sunlight, because maybe you live in the more temperate countries where the sun is not adequate. So vitamin D might be added into the pack. So for the training cycles, we require protein shake, amylose, daily vitality pack, and possibly vitamin A plus D. Then after the training cycle, the next part of the cycle is what we call the competition phase of the cycle. During this cycle, this is when the sports person is actively engaged in competition. And at this time, there are three big needs. The first one is energy for performance. So they need to be able to provide the energy for their bodies to perform. And also they require mental sharpness. So these two are what come into the forefront during the competition cycle. And for that, Neolife, we recommend the protein shake should go on. We also recommend Pro Vitality. This contains omega-3, we know this, as well as threonine, carotenoid complex, and multi. And in addition to those two, we add vitamin B, which is very important for energy production. So the vitamin B is added here, although it's ongoing because, of course, energy is required even in the training phase. But it plays an especially important role during the competition phase to make sure that those bursts of energy that are required during competition have got the energy supply that is needed. So the competition phase is usually not a long one because, of course, you know that we prepare for a very long time, but you compete for a relatively short time. But the performance during the competition depends on how well the preparation was done. So once the competition phase of the cycle is over, we immediately go into the recovery phase because we have said that the competition phase is very demanding on the system. It demands stamina, it demands endurance, it demands strength, it demands mental sharpness, and we cannot sustain this for an ongoing period. So what we do after the competition phase is to go into recovery when we allow the body to repair any damage. So the needs of the recovery phase will be repair of tissues which have been worn out or damaged or injured. And the other requirement for the recovery phase is to resolve inflammation that might have been caused by injury or by the stress of competition. So exercise and sports and all energetic activities require that the body is given time to repair itself. So this is why it is not recommended that sports people come from one competition to another, because that leads to breakdown. The muscle starts breaking down and becoming smaller. The mind starts being exhausted, and the immune system starts being ineffective. So you may find that a person who is overcompeting may end up having a different kind of infections such as flu and colds and so on. So in the recovery phase, we recommend the following products. We recommend to keep on with the ProVitality, because as we know, ProVitality contains omega-3 salmon oil, which is very essential for dealing with inflammation and resolving it. We recommend as well, ProVitality also has carotenoid complex, which is an antioxidant, which helps the body to deal with the byproducts of energy production. So remember, during the competition and the practice session, there will be byproducts that are produced, and the antioxidants of carotenoid complex play an important role in eliminating them. Then, of course, we also recommend zinc, which is important in healing of internal wounds and all wounds. So any injuries that might have taken place, some muscles might have been torn or bruised and so on. So zinc will play an important role in the healing process. We also recommend full motion, which helps in maintaining the cartilage. And we know that cartilage is essential for joint health, because it's what keeps the joints flexible. So full motion plays an important role in ensuring that the cartilage is in good repair and functioning well. And of course, we also add there either protein shake or Nutri-Shake or Neolife shake, depending on what is in your market. And this provides the proteins which will be needed for repairing any tissues that have been damaged. So that is the recovery phase. And the recovery phase, again, once it is over, the sports person will return to the practice phase again, and the cycle goes on. So it is a 3-stage cycle which keeps on as long as the sports and activities go on. I just also wanted to add for younger people that this can be adjusted for, let's say, school children. Some of us have children who are very, very interested in sports. So we can support them in their sports activities by supplying them with nutrients like Nutri-Shake. We can supply them with Vita Squares if they are still not very comfortable with swallowing some of the tablets or the capsules. And VitaGuard as well will play important roles there. So Nutri-Shake or Neolife Shake. And in addition to that, Vita Squares and VitaGuard will help them to keep on edge. And of course, the small, the small omega-3 salmon oil, which is easier for smaller children to swallow. This would help our young ones who are interested in sports so that they are able to compete well. And we know that in these days, we are noticing that children, as a result of being very interested in screens and in sedentary games, they tend to not be very active. So it's good for us to educate those within our circle of influence the importance for their mental health as well as their bodily health of participating in sports, whether actively or privately, encouraging them to be active rather than to come from sitting down all day at school to sitting down at home in front of a screen. This is not good for them. So we can encourage them, even if it's in the neighborhood, to organize some games which they can play in order to give their body the activity that it requires. So I think that then now I have got a few minutes that I can spend on some questions that I got. The first question that I had was someone who wanted to know about rheumatoid arthritis. And I just wanted to clarify that there are different kinds of these rheumatic and arthritic illnesses. So they may sound the same, but they are not the same. So it's good to be clear about what we are dealing with. So we have rheumatoid arthritis is an inflammation arthritis where the joints swell up and become inflamed and painful. And over time, the fingers and the toes and so on can start losing their shape. This is an autoimmune condition where the body's immune system starts attacking its own tissues, and the attack usually is in the small joints of the hands or the feet. And as I said, it is an autoimmune illness, which means that the products that we would recommend for rheumatoid arthritis would be to deal with the immune system and to reduce inflammation. Then we have osteoarthritis, the common arthritis where you have joint pain. This one is a result of wearing down of the cartilage on joints. And it can be part of a family history. It can also be as a result of muscle imbalance. It can be a result of putting on too much weight and putting a lot of stress on some joints like the hip joints or the knees. And it can also be just as a result of wear and tear as we grow older. So that one is osteoarthritis. And here we'll be recommending products to do with rebuilding the cartilage and returning the mobility or flexibility of the joint. Then we have other things like rheumatism, which is also another condition affecting joints. And then we have, I think it's those three that I wanted to clarify. And so for rheumatoid arthritis, we normally recommend full motion because there is inflammation which leads to damage of the cartilage. At the same time, we also recommend omega-3 salmon oil or Pro-Vitality, which is going to help with the immune system as well as the inflammation. And we also recommend multimineral to help with trying to repair the joint. But the thing to note about rheumatoid arthritis is that it's not easy to reverse the damage that has already been caused. What we can do is minimize the damage going forwards and reducing the incidence of flare-ups that are caused by the rheumatoid arthritis. Another thing that I can add there is that certain foods are trigger foods that cause the autoimmune activity of rheumatoid arthritis to be worse. So it is good to notice which foods cause the flaring up of the rheumatoid pain and to avoid those foods. Usually they are junk foods to do with things like sugar and foods with a lot of preservatives and fried in unhealthy fat and so on. So having a healthy diet is going to help in reducing the flare-ups and improving the quality of life. But here is a case where we should not promise that we are going to reverse the effects of the rheumatoid arthritis. What we can do is reduce the amount of pain and frequency of the flare-up. In osteoarthritis, we recommend full motion. We recommend CalMag or multimineral, and we can also add omega-3 and these ones or Pro-Vitality. So this will help in rebuilding the cartilage which has been worn out from the joints. Then another person, I think is still a related problem, but this person was asking about chronic knee pain, and another one was asking about chronic backache. I think that you might know that backache is one of the most common pain complaints nowadays that people have around. And that is because of sitting down for long periods, which weakens our big muscles, the muscles of our back and the muscles of our buttocks and hamstrings. These are big muscles which should be working very hard, but when we are sitting down, they are not being used. So what ends up happening is that the muscles of our legs, that is the lower part of our leg, do a lot more work than they should do. And then the muscles become imbalanced. So the muscles at the back are weak. The ones in front are a bit strong. And this imbalance causes the knee to not work properly. And that is what leads to the chronic knee pain. So it is important to increase amount of activity in our lives and to reduce the amount of time we sit down so that this back muscle, the muscles of our back, the muscles of our buttocks, and the muscles of our thighs are worked, and therefore they can perform well and support our bodies. And so our knees are not overwhelmed by having to do a lot of work. Another thing is that if we gain weight, then if you imagine how when we are standing, all of that weight will be sitting on our knee joints and our ankles. And that is why as we grow heavier, we have problems with our feet and with our knees. So another reason why we should try to maintain good healthy habits and activities so that we keep excessive weight gain at bay. And for this chronic knee pain and backache, I'll recommend also full motion, once again, to support the joints, omega-3 salmon oil to reduce inflammation, and either Calmag or multimineral. Because we know that multimineral contains both calcium and magnesium. So depending on what you have in your market, you can either use Calmag or multimineral. And another thing that can be done with this chronic pain is to see a physiotherapist, because they may help to recommend exercises that will help to return muscle balance. We can also we can incorporate these exercises that are recommended by the physiotherapist into our lifestyle to help us not to struggle too much with this chronic pain. Because if the pain is chronic, of course, it reduces what we are able to do, and it reduces the quality of our life. Then finally, there was a question about exhaustion, and I thought this one also we can put it as part of our sports nutrition, because of course, after competition and practice, a person might experience exhaustion. Of course, after a day's work, we can also experience exhaustion. Also, if we are going through stressful times, we can also have exhaustion. And what we recommend for this is Pro-Vitality, vitamin B, and one of the shakes, whether Neolife shake or Nutri-Shake, depending on your market. And on the personal side, we recommend that we have an active life, because sometimes you might be mentally exhausted, in which case, what might be helpful is to do some physical activity. And that is going to help you to dissipate some of the hormones that result from stress or mental exhaustion. So if you feel exhausted mentally, it does not mean that what you need to do is go to sleep. What you might need to do is actually do some activity that raises your heartbeat and helps your body to dissipate some of the hormones that are related to exhaustion and stress. I think that is the end of my time. Pascal is now here and ready to take you with the next part of our session. But I want to thank you very much for your attention, and I hope that the session has been useful to you. And if you are a sports person, or you have sports people who are professional sports people, I know in our country of Kenya, we've got lots of sports going on there. And now that the COVID things are beginning to abate, we are going to see more and more activity. So I recommend that we support our sports people by informing them about how our Neolife products can help, but at the same time that we ourselves try to become more active in our own lives, to encourage our children to be more active, because it is actually going to help our own bodily health. And of course, we know that in our business, we are the face of our business. We are the advertisement of our business. And the healthier we look, the more convincing we will be when we go out to share our products and share our business opportunity. Therefore, I encourage you to take on some of the recommendations. And of course, as Paul informed us, this is the Bone Health and Joint Awareness Month. And so we should create this awareness in our own lives as well as in the lives of those people that we meet. Thank you very much. Let me hand you over to Pascal, and I wish you all the best in the coming week. Thanks a lot and good evening.
Thank you very much, Betty. I think that was a really good session. And I think we can also look at our business as if our business is a sport, because there are three distinct stages of building this business: preparation, talking to prospects, and recovery. That means just checking and examining what we've been doing to get our business running. So I think it's very apt that we build our business as if it's a sport. So if you give me a few minutes, I want to share the screen with you so that we can share some ideas on two aspects. One is called prospecting, and the other one is called inviting. Why are these very important? Because the key to our business, the reason why we grow our business is to get new people into our business. And how do we do this? We do this by learning how to get prospects to become business partners like ourselves, to become business partners with us. Okay, so what is prospecting? Prospecting is the art of getting people that we want to bring into the business. How do we do this? If you give me one moment, I want to share the screen with you. Okay, prospecting. What is prospecting? Prospecting means that you look for people who are looking for the business. Let me just make it a slideshow from the current slide. Okay. What is prospecting? Prospecting is when you're looking for people who are looking. You see, when Betty was approached about this business, it took us 2 days to decide to join, because I remember that when we started, Betty couldn't get a job when we came to South Africa, and also my salary as an engineer was not increasing at a pace that the cost of living was increasing. So when we were approached, we were actually looking for something to do to generate more income. In this situation also, prospecting means you're looking for people who are looking. And how do you do that? A very simple thing. You need to start by writing a name list. A name list is one of the most important items of your business. Okay, so learn to write. I would say, if you're a new distributor, or if you've been old in the business, I have met a lot of people, prospects or people who are just starting, and I ask them, write a list of 100 people. What do they say? I don't know 100 people, but when you ask them, okay, go to your phone book, go to your contacts, how many people are there? They will say there are at least 500. I think the reason why they say they don't have people on their name list is because they've already decided that some of those people they cannot approach. 3 rules about name lists, 3 rules about writing names. Number 1, do not prejudge. Number 2, write their names down. Number 3, tick the names off. What do I mean by ticking the names off? I mean, talk to those people. Tell them about the business. Ask them if they'd like to earn extra income. Sometimes we are afraid to approach people because we've already made up our mind that we don't think that person is going to join the business. I remember when we started, I think we were about a year or 2 old in the business, and there was a neighbor of ours who we were reluctant to approach because at that time she was working for the United Nations and she was earning quite good income. So we hesitated to approach her. 3 weeks later, we met her at a meeting where she had been sponsored as a distributor in the business. What lesson did we learn from that? That never prejudge anybody. Anybody can do this business, but not everybody does it. There's a distinct difference between the two. This business, anybody can do it, but only a few people who see the potential of the business and who are willing to look at the business actually become business builders. So prospecting means you're looking for people who are looking, people who are searching. Some of them may not even know that they're searching for the business. Okay? It's up to you to speak to them and ask them, by the way, I'm running a business. Would you be interested to look at a way to generate more income? Or ask them a question. How much money would it make it your while to earn if it would take you 3 months to learn how to build this business? What would make it worthwhile for you to have a look at the business? You see, you ask that question so that the person can think about, what do I really want in life? And it's important that you as a distributor learn to ask the right questions. Because if you ask the right questions, you're likely to find the people who are looking for the business. People who are looking for the business are people who are dissatisfied with their lives, and then they don't quite know how to express themselves. And if you ask the question, they're likely to say, okay, actually, I'm serious, I'd like to have a look at it. But after you prospect, the next thing you need to do is to invite. Inviting people is a very important skill of the business, because in fact, we call it the gateway of the business. Inviting simply means that you ask the right questions so that you expose the business to a new prospect. Okay? It's called the gateway skill of our business. If you know how to invite properly in the business, you'll grow a very large business. And inviting doesn't mean that you approach everybody that you see. Inviting simply means you take care of the following steps. Number one, learn how to know people. That is, start building a relationships. How do you build a relationship? By asking questions. I remember when we were new in the business, we were told, use the FORM principle. FORM simply stands for FORM, family, occupation, recreation, and money needs. All those things people have in common. So use the FORM principle to start and build relationship with people. Inviting also has to become part of your daily method of operation. What does that mean? That every single day you learn to invite people to look at the business. Okay? And how will this happen? How would people join your business? When three things happen, people are likely to join your business. Number one, if they know you. Number two, if they like you. And number three, if they trust you. So you need to build relationship with people so that these three aspects of your inviting are in place. That is, you know the person. You may have just met them. You may have met them in Facebook. You have met them in social media, or somebody who was sitting next to you in a bus or a matatu or in the bank or the doctor's place, anywhere. Start by knowing the person and exchanging information. What I found very useful for me, it is to always walk with business cards in my pocket, so that when I meet somebody in the bus, in the plane, anywhere, before I leave them, I ask them a simple question. By the way, I'm running a business. This is my business card. I'd like to chat to you about the business I do sometime later. Would you mind giving me your contact? So you exchange business cards. It would be very awkward for you to ask for a phone number, because the way you ask might create a mistrust. But if you have a business card, you're sending a very clear message. I'm interested in a business relationship with you. So have business cards in your pocket, exchange those contacts, and either the same day or the next day, give them a call. Why is that? If you wait for 4 or 5 days, if you call them, they might ask you, but who are you? But if you call them the same day or the next day, they're likely to remember who you are. All right? The next aspect about inviting is invite them to an event or invite them to view a tool, either a magazine, a video, a YouTube channel, whatever it is. Invite them to look at something, or invite them to a business meeting. For example, like the ones we have on Mondays evening, a Zoom presentation, or you can invite them for a physical meeting. If there are physical meetings around where you are, for example, I think this coming weekend, those of you who are in Kenya, in Mombasa, there's going to be a meeting in Maua, and I think in Mumias. You invite people for these presentations. You invite them to join the presentations so that they can actually come and do the business. So invite them to an event or to view a tool. And then learn how to ask the right questions. What is the right question? A right question is a qualifying question, a question that you ask your prospects to see if they have an interest in the business. But there are 4 key things you need to remember during the inviting process. And I remember this came to me after quite a while in the business. The first thing, you need to detach yourself emotionally from the outcome. What does that mean? Is that whether the person says yes or no, you become indifferent to what they say. When I was doing the business, I was so excited about it. I completely believed in the business, and I thought everybody would see what I see in the business. And when I would invite somebody to look at it and they didn't respond positively, I would get really frustrated. And I would ask myself, why are they not seeing what I am seeing? And then my sponsor, Johannes Fadine, our mentor, told me, look, this business, although everybody can do it, and it's not for everybody. So when people say no, they're not saying no to you, they're saying no to the business. So don't take it personally. So slowly by slowly, I learned how to detach yourself emotionally. Have I managed to do it completely? No. It's a process. So if you're new in the business, don't think that even people like me who have been in the business for 25 years have completely detached ourselves emotionally from the outcome. No, but we still approach people. A friend of mine sent me a message today that today she doesn't feel like doing the business at all. She doesn't feel like doing anything. I said, join the club. Everybody at one point or the other, you come to a situation where you don't feel like doing the business. But the thing is, your dreams drive you to do what you need to do to become successful. I see Sabina is agreeing with me 100% because I'm sure she is going through this process. When you feel emotionally, all these people are saying, no, will this thing work? Yes, this thing works. So learn to detach yourself emotionally from the outcome of what you're trying to do. Number two, be yourself. Don't become somebody different from who you actually are. All right? When you're yourself, people are likely to trust you. Number three, be enthusiastic. Enthusiasm comes from the word entheo, which means the God within. If you are not convinced about this business, you're likely not to convince anybody. I'm not saying that you have to act strange. What I'm saying is be enthusiastic. People need to know that you've actually sold out in the business. It means you believe in the business completely. And that comes from having enthusiasm. The fourth one, be bold and confident about the business. It means having a strong posture. Posture simply means you have an attitude in the mind that says, I don't care whether you join my business or not. That's the attitude you need to develop. You don't need to say it in those words, but your prospects need to get that message that they don't have to join your business. You're actually doing them a favor. You know, when I look back, Betty and I are eternally grateful to our sponsor, Jane Kibera, for inviting us in the business. So I think she did us a great favor by inviting us to do this business. But of course, when you're new, you don't see it that way. It comes from being bold and building confidence in yourself. Building confidence in yourself means that you show them the business, you do a follow-up, but you don't act as if you're begging them to join. Don't beg anybody. You know, Betty and I earn good income in the business. And as looking at it now, in fact, I think it was a great privilege for us to be invited to join this business. So if you're a distributor, don't beg people to join. Don't tell people, oh, this business is easy, just come and I will help you to grow your business. No, you will help them to grow their business. That's true. But you will not do for them what they should be doing for themselves. Okay? So don't mislead people and tell them this is an easy business, just come, we will show you how to build it. Within 1 or 2 years, you'll be earning $15,000, $20,000 a month. This business is very good, it's very powerful, it takes time to build it, but tell people they are going to have to work. You're going to support them, yes, but most of the work they have to do themselves. Then make use of tools in the business. The tools we have in the business are videos, Zoom meetings, magazines, CDs, the things that you are professionally prepared that you don't need to do yourself. Those are called tools. And if you learn how to use the tools, your business will, the person who will become the most successful is the person who sends the most videos, the person who invites people to the most Zoom meetings, the person who invites people, who gives out magazines and CDs. Those are the people who are going to be successful. And then make use of your team, especially your sponsor. Make use of them. They are your sponsor because they'd like to help you to become successful. So make use of them. If you've got a prospect they're not quite sure how to speak to, call your upline sponsor. Said, look, I've got a good prospect. I'd like you to help me to close them up. Okay? And then this business is a team effort. You will never become a diamond director. You won't even maybe you can become a director by just buying a lot of products. But if you want to build a worldwide organization, a worldwide business, if you want to build a president's team, a world team member, you can never do it on your own. It's a team effort. It is always a team effort. As you may be aware, teams stand for together, everyone achieves more. The more you use your team, the faster your business grows and the stronger it becomes. Okay, so those are the few ideas I wanted to share with you on how to prospect and how to invite people successfully to look at the business. I think the next time you're going to discuss on how to close people, because I think a lot of distributors struggle with closing prospects who have seen the business. I know you may approach prospects, they say no 1, 2, or 3 times and you give up no. Go back 4 times, go back 5 times, go back 6 times. Because the average person says no 5 times before they say yes. Why is that? I was reading a psychology magazine that an average 18-year-old person has heard the word no, you can't do it 148,000 times. What does that tell you? That most people are conditioned to say no. So if you want them to look at a business, if they say no once, go back again. If they say no again, go back again. Eventually, they will listen to you and get started in the business. Okay? But this leads me to the last aspect that I'd like to share with you. It's called persistence. Sometimes in winter, when it's very cold, some birds wake up in the morning and they come to your window and they start knocking on your window because they see their own reflection in the window. And they knock so many times and you wonder, why is this bird waking me so early in the morning? It's called persistence. Okay? Persistence is a key aspect of success in life. Nobody will be invited to the land of success without passing through the test of persistence. Persistence simply means that you do something over and over and over again until you become successful. How do you develop persistence? A few things. Number one, you need to have a goal of what you want to achieve. That's the first thing. Number two is you need to put systems in place that makes sure you actually follow through on what you want to achieve to become successful. And I would strongly encourage you is don't listen to your mind when things are getting tough. You see, your mind is designed to keep you safe. Your brain is designed to keep you safe. What does that mean? It means that it wants to maintain status quo. And that's the reason why it's very difficult for human beings to change. Because our mind always wants to deal with things which are familiar. If you want to succeed, you need to ignore what your mind is. You see, during this COVID-19 era, because we did a lot of work at home, we picked up the habit of exercising every day. The worst time to decide when you want to exercise or not is when you're still in bed. If you want to exercise regularly, if you want to be able to run consistently, make that decision when you're 3 kilometers away. At least you'll have run 6 kilometers. So ignore how you feel. when you're exercising and you're lifting weights and your pain is beginning to go through your muscles, you need to continue until that pain goes away. What happens is that your brain is rewired and it becomes used to new level of pain. That is what growth is. And if you want to be persistent, you need to be able to go through that pain threshold so that you can become constant and persistent in what you're doing. Persistent, it simply means that you do. I remember reading about a man called George. George was a mechanic, and he loved planes. Sometimes he would be repairing cars. If he gets a chance to go and fly a plane, he'd leave what he's doing and go and fly. So one day he was a friend of his, and they were flying, and something was wrong with the plane, and one of the engines stopped working. So the plane came down and crashed. Then they could smell the fuel. So he told his friend, "We need to get out of here, otherwise this thing will burn and burn us to death. It will explode." So with superhuman strength, they pulled themselves out of the wreckage. The moment they are 4 or 5 meters away, the plane blew up, and quite a number of his clothes was burnt up. So he said, "God, okay, you've got my attention. What do you want me to do?" So he recovered, he got some insurance, and he took that insurance and decided, he bought a piece of land and he wanted to build a project. He put out a business plan and went to the first bank to borrow money. He was not given. He went to the next bank, they refused to give him money. He went to the fourth bank, they refused to give him money. He went to the 20th bank, they said no. He went to the 70th bank, they said no. George went through 97 banks before the 98th one said, "Yes, we'll lend you the money." After 10 years, George was worth $600 million. So if you want to be successful, you need to develop persistence. Persistence simply means you do the things you need to do on a daily basis, whether you feel like doing them or not. Because sometimes we always want to do things because they make us feel good. There's no success in that. You will not become successful if you always do things that makes you feel good. I watched an interview of Eliud Kipchoge. He said, "Look, life is like a marathon. 2 things you have to accept: pain and discipline. If you don't accept those 2 things, you will not succeed in whatever you're doing. Learn how to go through pain in training, pain in running, sometimes the pain of disappointment. You have to put it aside and keep doing what you're doing. So if you want to pass through the test of persistence, you need to do what is required to be done. And one of the best ways to do is have a daily schedule. Have a list of things that you want to do every day, irrespective of how you are feeling. I mean, sometimes it's quite easy to say that love is feelings. I think the love is not feelings. Love is something that comes from the will. Ask a mother who wakes up at 3 o'clock in the morning to feed the baby. You think she's feeling like she likes to feed the baby? No, it's because she's driven by love. Okay, so to develop a strong and persistent attitude or habit, you have to use your will. You have to force yourself to do the things that are required so that you become successful. Because the day you'll become a director, the day you become a world team member, the day you become a 4Ruby director, a president's team member, you will not remember all those disappointments you've had. None of them will feature anywhere. Betty and I have been through it. All those people who laughed at me, one of my colleagues who told me, "Pascal, you're an engineer and you're selling soap." Do you think I remembered his comments when we became Ruby directors or president's team members? No. But that is part of the journey. Part of the journey means that you are willing to persist until you become successful. So, ladies and gentlemen, I really appreciate you sharing your evening with us. I hope that some of what we've shared with you is going to help you grow your business. So I want to hand over back to Paul to close our meetings. So thank you very much, all of you, and God bless you.
Thank you so much, Pascal, for that session that you have taken us through. Together with Betty, it was a wonderful session. Because I'm looking at prospecting and getting the business started, and that is where it starts. So tonight we are quite privileged to be able to be part of this training. And I believe our distributors on the call, you're going to be able to put those points into practice, because whatever Pascal and Betty are teaching us, they are things that they have been able to do before, and they've been able to get a lot of results. And for you to be able to experience the same difference, then you just need to take everything they're teaching us, go out there in your country, in places where you are doing your business, and make sure you position those things. And trust me, you'll be able to become as successful as Pascal and Betty Hall. So we have come to the end of our session today. I know we are going into a very busy weekend with a lot of meetings. I just apply some of those things in some of those meetings that you're going into. We thank God the countries are opening. We can be able to do small meetings in Kenya, in Uganda. Of course, Tanzania, we never closed. It's business as usual. So those things will be able to help us a lot as we go out there and speak to people about our opportunity. The other thing which I just wanted to bring to your attention is about our East Africa Convention, which is just around the corner. The 31st of October is when we are going to have our virtual and physical East Africa Convention. The reason why I'm saying virtual is because quite a number of Kenyans and Ugandans might not be able to make it to Dar es Salaam, where we are going to have the event. So we are going to make sure there's a Zoom link whereby you can be able to come in and be able to be part of the excitement as we celebrate 25 years since this organization of Neolife started its business in East Africa. So we are looking forward to that. And you can be able to register. Even if you're in Kenya and Uganda, we are allowing you to register. Pay the registration fee, which is on the registration form. And we are going to make sure at the end of the convention, you're going to get your convention pack, just like everybody who registered in Tanzania, so that it doesn't look like it's a Tanzania event. So we are opening that. You can be able to register, and you'll be able to get the registration pack just like every other person. It has a nice T-shirt, which is branded at the back, 25 years of success in East Africa. It has a pen and a notebook, so you do not want to miss out. And guess what? In Kenya and Uganda, we are only printing about 200 pieces, but don't worry, if you finish, we can always be able to print more. But those are the first one which are coming, which we are giving out on first come basis. So make sure you register, and then you can be able to get that pack. For Tanzanians, we are looking forward to see each and every person who is a distributor on that call. So if you're a leader on this call, you need to register, and you need to make sure all the people that are in your business, they've been able to register and be part of that event. So we're looking forward to a successful event, and your presence will make all the difference. I mean, you know how we do it in East Africa. We do a big celebration during our convention. So I just want to thank each and every one of you on the call today for being part of this opportunity. Tomorrow we are having our Swahili presentation, which is coming to us on Zoom. So if you can speak Swahili, you know somebody who can be able to speak Swahili, invite them on the same Zoom link. I'll be able to share our guest speaker shortly, but you can start sharing right away. So thank you so much, everyone. We have come to the end of our session. We just want to say good night and God bless you. Bye-bye. Thank you, Pascal and Betty. Good night and bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Good night, everybody.